Hi, welcome to another video. I'm in my car as always in this video series. I'm in here with a lamp, some podcast equipment, and my laptop. And the reason I'm doing these videos is just to support some content I'm putting up on my website pretty regularly, particularly the blog posts. And the reason I'm doing it is to just practice speaking openly and holding a coherent train of thought. Whether it's coherent is kind of debatable. And yeah, it's just good practicing these kinds of things because, someday if I'm involved in public life, I'm going to need to be able to communicate effectively and get my point across and be persuasive as well. Not that these videos are necessarily supposed to persuade you from your own ideologies or whatever. It's just a good habit for me mostly. And if you enjoy them, that's a bonus kind of thing. So this week's blog post was called Many to One. And I kind of stole that title off a guy that tours the world on a yacht, lecturing. He's sort of got PhDs coming out his ass, and he's spent most of his life studying. And just briefly, it kind of means the way I look at it is we have infinite choices we can make, but we have to choose one. So whether you wake up and choose to get out of bed, or make breakfast, or go to work, or study, or cook dinner, or whether you just choose to get something delivered to your door and push society away. You've got a lot of choices that you can make, and if you really think about it, it's kind of an infinite possibility on a minute by minute basis with what you can do with yourself. But you can only choose to do one thing at a time, really. I don't think multitasking is a real thing, to be honest. You kind of, all you're doing is just doing two things and doing one of them at the same time and cycling back and forth pretty frequently. So yeah, that's where the title comes from. Now, why that's relevant to this blog post is I think a lot of people are torn between two worlds, especially in modern life. And you see this most evident when people are working, and they're working a lot, and they say things like, "Oh, I just need a holiday, I need some time off," or you become sick because you're so ridden with stress, and you just need a break. And also, there's a large component, and this is what I relate to the most, that you kind of fantasize about a simpler life, especially if you're in modern society, which you probably are if you're watching this video. And so you kind of want to escape, and whether that's dreaming about a holiday, or whether it's about actually thinking about retiring early, or buying a house down by the coast, or sea change kind of concept, or getting a cabin off the grid up in the mountains. That's kind of something that I think about regularly. And then the other side is this kind of second world, if you will, is partaking in modern society, having a job, paying bills, paying taxes, keeping your house in order, looking after your family, whatever it might be. So, and when I was younger, I always had that in the back of my mind, that I just kind of wanted to run away from all the pressures in the West, let's call it, and just disconnect and just think about things in a very basic way. And whether it's okay, it's cold outside, I'll need to go chop up some wood and put that in my stove. I'm hungry, I'll need to cook dinner. Just those kind of quite simplistic way of living, and that was very alluring to me from a young age. I haven't really engaged it as I've got older. I do that to some extent by going away camping and hiking and things like that. But I definitely don't do it as much as I'd like, because I've kind of, to stay in touch with modern life, you really need to commit to it. And, that kind of tug of war, being committed to modern life and wanting to get away, I think that really manifested in me when I was, in my early 20s, the consequences of, being conflicted. And that was when I was diagnosed with bipolar. And, not that I necessarily think that I have bipolar, it's just I just say that I was diagnosed because I'm still me at the end of the day. And it is kind of a label that mostly assists medical professionals and family and friends with thinking about what's going on with me. Now, the weird thing is, it's kind of a deep desire for something you don't have, which I think we can all relate to. You might see somebody driving past in a fast car and think, oh, I want one of those, and potentially you might go out and buy it. And you just kind of, you kind of daydream about your life or what it could be, and you kind of preference, things you can't have. And I think people spend a lot of time thinking about things they don't have. But is it just because we don't have it that we want it? And that's a question I don't really know the answer to. And it would be nice to just disconnect from modern life and go live out in a cabin by the woods. But I've also got this, this inner yearning to affect change in the world to whatever extent. My focus has reduced a lot over the years. It was very open when I was younger, in terms of wanting to make an impact on the world. And, what I learned in that process was that changing the world, it's a nice thing to keep in mind. And a good phrase is to think globally but act locally. And I think acting locally really means looking after your friends and family, as opposed to being worried about sort of these global issues all the time and letting that influence your decision making on a day-to-day basis. It's good to be aware of those things, but the most important thing is to choose within yourself that you care about whatever issue that's plagued the globe at that particular time. But you still got to live your life, and you shouldn't really get too caught up in things that you can't control, which is the main point. You really need to just relax and try and be there for people in need that are in your near vicinity, as opposed to solving global issues. Because at the end of the day, those global issues only get solved when people learn to distill them into a format that they can incorporate in their day-to-day lives. So something else I talk about in the blog post was that, back to desire and talking about that the funny thing is, if you think about people that kind of live these simplistic lifestyles, like villagers in remote communities around the world, I think you'd find if you talk to them, and not that I have necessarily, but I think you would find that a lot of them would like to escape it and go to the city, go to the big smoke, get a job, buy material items that they don't really need, but make them happy, and stay up late at night and watch infomercials. And I think that's, it's interesting that a lot of people in modern society, they kind of want that life that villager has, that simplistic sort of day-to-day living, as opposed to, in reality, those people that do have that lifestyle actually want the opposite. But I can say, of the people that I know that do, go off grid and live a simpler life, that they do seem to be happy. But I think it's a healthy thing to want more for yourself. But at the same time, you don't necessarily need to do something drastic in your life. You can just, the way I put it is, go camping and get pissed with your friends and just, have a good time and forget about what you do on a daily basis regularly, and kind of disconnect from that day-to-day grind and just live in the moment, whether it's drinking or building a fire or, cooking food outdoors, just doing something a little bit different that kind of satisfies that desire to live a simpler life. And yeah, I guess I'm not really talking to people that, do live in villages. They're probably not going to watch this video. But I think, for the rest of us that live in modern society, I think it is healthy to want more and try and strive towards a simpler life. And I think most people really tend to go in that direction when they get older and want to retire, that, they don't want to live this sort of stressful complex lifestyle. Some do, but I would say those that do are usually a little bit more successful in that domain. They can handle kind of that intense pressure that builds up every day and it kind of washes over them, as opposed to causing them stomach ulcers. I'll just say that. So yeah, read the blog post if you feel like it. By all means, you can just watch this video, no worries. And yeah, so many to one. You've only got one choice that you can make at a time. And if you are thinking about that alternative life, I know, sometimes it feels like I'm alone when it feels like I'm the only one that wants that simpler lifestyle, but I'm sure a lot of other people do. And you don't necessarily have to abandon your modern life and partaking in modern culture. You can just kind of get away for a little while and look forward to those trips or holidays or going camping, and just look forward to living that simplistic lifestyle in a small interval, and then get back to the hustle and bustle and trying to build on modern culture as opposed to just pushing it away. And I think that's an important concept as well, that there's been a lot of people that have gone that are buried in the ground now, or turned to dust in a furnace, that have pushed modern culture that little bit further. And I think there's a lot of great things that inhabit this modern lifestyle. There's a lot of consequences, mainly being people's mental health, I think, is a major concern of mine personally, and how living in a modern life really impacts you mentally. But yeah, anyway, I think I might finish it there, so it's a little bit shorter than usual. I'll see you in the next video, I guess. Cheers.